What's going on, everybody? It's Connor here from Unscripted, back again with another video. In this video, I'll be talking about sort of the outlook for OpTic Chicago and their roster following CDL Week 1, and as always, we'll be doing it without the script. So, let's hop right into this and talk about OpTic Chicago a little bit. So they went 1-1 on the weekend. They beat the Paris Legion 3-0 in a pretty lopsided, kind of lopsided series. We'll get to that. And they lost to the Atlanta FaZe 3-2. So there's a lot to unpack with this series. Excuse me, to recenter myself a bit here. Oh, there we go. There's a lot to unpack with these two series for OpTic Chicago, and let's get right into it. So we start with the series against the Paris Legion. Not a very challenging series for OpTic Chicago, but that was not to be expected. They won the hard point 205 or 250 to 102. Not even close. Their slaying was big time on display there. They outslayed Paris bad. I don't even know how bad it was, but it was ugly. Everybody was positive for OpTic. The lowest KD was Scump with a 1.43 in the game. So the slang was on full display in that. They moved over to the search, which we know is not OpTic Chicago's strong suit. They managed to win 6-4 after trailing 3-0, so that was good. It was whatever. And then they barely squeaked by in a control on raid. They actually got outslayed by only a couple kills in that game. But they ended up getting the win 3-0. Everything was great. Then they moved on to the Atlanta FaZe series, and things did not go as well for them. So in the Atlanta FaZe series, they won the opening hardpoint 250 to 225 in a close one. They had a smart play at the end. Atlanta FaZe rotated too early off of the hill, and OpTic I think was at 241. And with 11 seconds to go, OpTic got a two-piece on the hill, and they got in with 10 seconds to go, and they just were able to get enough time from the old hill. But, the rotation didn't even matter. They were able to win off the old hill, so all was good there, but it was very close. Search and destroy on Miami. OpTic lost 6-0. To be expected. Well, not to be expected. They're never expected. They weren't expected to beat FaZe and Search, but to just get whooped like that was not expected. Definitely not. Control. They lost 3-2, or they won 3-2. Excuse me, on checkmate. Close game there. OpTic won the slaying though by I think 5 or 6 kills. They did a pretty good job in the control. The hard point on Moscow. This is where OpTic should have won the series right here. They ended up losing 250 to 245 off of what was really a huge three-piece by Abizi to pretty much save the game for Atlanta FaZe. If he even only got 2 instead of 3, it probably would have been game over for them. But super close game there, but demoralizing for OpTic because we know they're not the best search team, and they went and they lost 6-1 on Search and Destroy on Moscow to wrap up the series and fall to 1-1 in the year. So sorry about that. I got a knock on my door, but anyway, I'm back. And yeah, like I was saying, OpTic fell to 1-1 on the year, and it's a rough start. A rough way to lose to FaZe, getting dominated so bad in the Search and Destroys. But it is what it is. They're 1-1, and the toughest team in their polls behind them. So we'll see what they do from there. But looking at some overall stats for the event, the hard point, it's to be expected. So everybody in OpTic was positive in hard point over the 3 hard points they played. Formal, led the way with a 1.24. Dashie a 111, Scump 112, and Envoy a 106. Now in Search is where it gets ugly. So Dashie pretty much with the hard carry in Search. 0.55 for Scump at the event, including a donut, 0-6 on Miami. 0.88 for Envoy, who's supposed to be their best Search and Destroy player. Not a great showing for him, but also wasn't just him. The teamwork just wasn't there. He was making some plays sometimes where his teammates couldn't capitalize on things, but whatever. 0.88, 0.89 for Formal, and 1.31 for Dashie, so bring the overall team KD to 0.89 for Search. And then in control again, Dashie 143. I think that's first or second in the whole league in control, and nobody else positive. 0.96 for Envoy, 0.95 for Formal, 0.81 for Scump. And really, what was concerning to me, it wasn't just that they had these stats. It was how bad they were compared in the Atlanta FaZe series because they can beat a team like Paris. That's not a problem for them. The problem is going to be against these good teams, especially who are good in Search, where they really have to win the respawns. So they outslayed Atlanta in the respawns by only a couple kills, and maybe I think 2 combined kills in the hard points and maybe 5 in the control. So I mean, they won the slaying battle, but then the Search and Destroy is just where things really got ugly. And the Search and Destroy against FaZe, here we go, between 2 games. Dashie 1.27, like I said, he played well. Envoy 0.5, Scump 0.46, and Formal also 0.46. So yeah, the teammates combined for 18 kills, and Dashie had 14 in those 2 searches. So that's all you really need to know there. Just not a good showing for the team at all. Ugly, 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 and that's in those search and destroys, and it is what it is. But now let's move beyond the stats and let's just talk about the team. So Dashi right now is a top three player for sure. Number two or number three, Hook is playing like he's the best in the world right now. Again, it's only a small sample size, but Hook playing very well. Dashi and Abizi probably right there for the number two spot so far from what we've seen. But beyond that, man, it was just rough. Formal is probably the biggest disappointment for me, just because compared to compared to expectations, he really has not played well. But Envoy, you could say the same thing for. Envoy has high expectations, especially as a search and destroy player and as a team leader. And if your team leader, if your best search and destroy player goes 6 and 12 between two maps, and he also is not leading the team, their communication was off, their trades weren't there. Envoy would bait, and nobody would get just trade the kill off. They would just let him die, then they get two pieced or whatever. I mean, I know Abizi and those guys are really good at search, but it was not a good display from Envoy or the team as a whole in search. Scump, he didn't play well, but he's still obviously a very good player, but he probably was expected to be the worst player on this team. Again, still probably a top 12 to 15 player in the league, but he had the lowest expectations for him, so it is what it is. But I know Envoy with the lowest KD in the team. Or no, I'm sorry, Scump with the lowest KD in the team. Envoy the second, and then Formal, and then Dashi. So I don't know. Dashi rocking a 1.24 right now. He's playing well. Like I said, top three player in the game for sure. But there's also another way to look at it is you don't have to be an extreme. There's sort of two extremes. Like, oh, OpTic's still really good. Screw it, man. They lost to FaZe in the search, but they're gonna get better at search. They're too good to be that bad. They're still the best team. Whatever that side is saying, and the other side is saying, OpTic's junk. They can't win a search. Blah blah blah. Both sides are wrong. So OpTic definitely got knocked down a peg, and I would imagine everybody's power rankings. Like I said, not a good showing for them. They have to be able to win search and destroys. But on the flip side, like I said earlier, they were one kill away from the Moscow Hardpoint from wrapping up the series and not even going to that game five. It would have been 3-1, and that's also kind of where a map being closed or a series being closed does not necessarily mean it was a close map count. Like if that series ended 3-1 and they won that Moscow Hardpoint, it was still a very close series, but 3-1 doesn't look as close. But as soon as it went to that game five, you knew it was probably over. But still, to get beat 6-1 like that is just rough. So that's kind of like earlier when I was saying they narrowly outslayed FaZe in the respawns. That's not going to be good enough if their search is going to be that bad. They will have to dominate respawns in order to just not even get to that second search. And with the way Control plays this year, it's kind of fluky. There's no guarantees with Control at all. They can just offense is so hard and anything can happen. It's not crazy for a very good team to lose to a worse team in Control. I mean, OpTic almost lost theirs to Paris, so they can't just basically expect to go undefeated in hard points or in respawns because obviously that's not going to happen, and they need to be able to win some searches, and they will win some searches. They're not going to be playing Atlanta FaZe every single series. That's probably the best search team in the league. Maybe Minnesota, probably FaZe though. I mean, definitely FaZe. So just take a breath. They're going to be okay at search. Scump had a horrible showing in search. He is historically a good search and destroy player. He has not had a bunch of team success in search, but he has always been very good at it. He was good at it last year. Dashi and Envoy, two extremely good search and destroy players. Envoy could have the argument for best search player in the league. Obviously, right now he doesn't based on the small sample size, but coming into the year and as the year goes on, he'll be right up there. Dashi right now does have an argument to be one of the best search and destroy players in the league. And Formal, it's not his thing. He's a AR slayer. He'll do okay in search. It's not like he's getting hard carried or anything. He's just not. It's not his strong suit. But regardless, they'll be fine at search. The big thing for them though is just consistency. I mean, they can't lose 12-1, 1-12 in rounds of search and destroy against a good team. That's just it can't happen. So there's no need to panic. It's gonna be okay with OpTic. They're still probably the best respawn team in the game. We can't say that for sure. Dallas is up there for sure. FaZe, they might be up there after that game. LA Thieves, after the way they looked, they're up there though. OpTic is. There's no reason for panic in the respawns at all. But again, they can't expect to win every single respawn. They have to improve their search. I'm sure they will. And again, it's kind of I'm trying not to do it, but everybody's guilty of it. You can't overreact to two maps of search against the best search team in the league without snipers and without smokes or whatever else and just have a steadfast opinion that's not going to change. That opinion should change over the course of the year and it will. If you think OpTic is one of the worst search and destroy teams in the league, that's going to change because they'll get better at it. Again, they're not going to be playing FaZe every game. They're not going to be playing Minnesota every game. They'll win their fair share of searches. They just have to be a little bit better at it. Even if they're losing their searches, we don't want to see 6-0, 6-1. We want to see 6-4, round 11s, that kind of thing. Obviously, you don't want to see them losing at all, but we want to see them at least competing. And that's really what's going to take them up to the next step. If they can just get consistently good at search, they don't have to be great at it because they're great at the hard points and the controls, they should be pretty good. So if they can just get good at search and then let the rest play out from there in the respawns, they'll be fine and they'll find themselves right at the top of the league. So I'll be talking more about OpTic. I wanted to do this video because that is my favorite team, and more importantly, that's the team I know the most about, so I feel like I can talk about them as a team and kind of know what I'm talking about. So that's why I wanted to talk about them. I will be doing a power rankings update, but I don't want to talk, obviously, this long about each team, so I wanted to make a video just on OpTic because they have a lot of fans, and there's a lot of polarizing opinions on them right now, and I just want to get mine out there. I think they'll be okay. Tune up the searches, keep doing what they're doing in the respawns, and let the Ashy lead the way, and they'll be fine. So that's going to wrap up this video. Don't forget to drop a like down below, maybe leave a comment, let me know what you think of OpTic right now. Subscribe to the channel, it would really help me out and I would appreciate it a bunch. Yeah, I'll be back probably tomorrow with top 5 players from the event and maybe my power ranking as well, and then we're going to move on to the next weekend because we have 10 more matches of Call of Duty coming up in 3 days, so we're soon there already. Anyway, thanks again for watching, have a good one, and I will talk to you next time.